So hi, today we're gonna talk about the drug which is the metformin. So let's know first what is metformin. Metformin is the currently first-line oral therapy for the management of type 2 diabetes, along with its effect on lowering glucose. There is an interest in the potential drug action related to the cardiovascular disease and cancer. Other beneficial effects of metformin were revealed, such as the inhibition of tumors, delaying aging, and immunomodulation. For the mechanism of action, metformin primarily works by decreasing glucose in the liver and improving insulin sensitivity in peripheral tissues such as the muscle and fat cells. Next is the pharmacokinetics. Metformin is absorbed in gastrointestinal tract, mainly in the small intestine. It does not undergo metabolism and is excreted unchanged in the uterine. Also, the elimination half-life is approximately 4 to 8 hours. Next, for the clinical use of metformin, metformin is indicated as a first-line treatment for type 2 diabetes mellitus, either alone or in combination with other anti-diabetic medication. Also, it may be prescribed for the management of polycystic ovary syndrome or the PCOS, and for certain of labels uses such as weight loss and prevention of the diabetes in high-risk individuals. Next, for the contraindication, so metformin is contraindicated in patients with severe renal impairment, hepatic disease, and condition predisposing to lactic acidosis. So, it should be temporarily discontinued in patients undergoing procedures involving contrast media and in those with significant hypoxic conditions. Next is the adverse effect of the metformin, or the side effect of the metformin. Common side effect includes gastrointestinal symptoms such as nausea, vomiting, diarrhea, and abdominal discomfort. Rare but serious adverse effects include lactic acidosis, particularly in patients with renal impairment or other predisposing factors. Next is precautions. For the precautions of metformin, regular monitoring of the renal function is recommended in patients taking metformin, as it is primarily eliminated by the kidneys. Dosage adjustment may be necessary in elderly patients and those with renal impairment to reduce the risk of lactic acidosis. Next is the drug interaction. For the drug interaction, metformin may interact with certain medications, including those that affects the renal function, such as the non-steroidal anti-inflammatory drugs and some antihypertensive agents. Next is for the pregnancy and lactation. The use of metformin during pregnancy is generally considered safe for both the mothers and the fetus, although individual circumstances should be considered. Metformin is excreted in breast milk, but at levels that are unlikely to be harmful to the infant. So, for the limitations to the interpretation of in vitro studies for metformin, there has been tons of research on the mechanism of action of the metformin, but the precise mechanism is still up for the debate because the metformin concentration used in earlier studies on preclinical models, in vitro experiments, and cell line models were much higher than the therapeutic concentration used in humans. The concentrations employed in the preclinical studies were almost 10 to 100 times greater than the concentration attained in type 2 diabetes patient. The suprapharmacological concentration of metformin have widely characterized mechanism of action, such as the complex 1 inhibition leading to AMPK activation do not exist in the usual clinical scenarios. So, recent research supports the fact that metformin at clinical optimal doses of the drugs suppress the hepatic glucogenesis in a substrate selective way in both vitro and vivo settings. This evidence limits the useful of metformin in various other conditions like cancer, where preclinical studies results revealed a pretty high concentration as compared to the therapeutic ones. So, in view of varied mechanism of metformin at different concentration, modified preclinical studies with robust protocols and large trials need to be conducted in order to conclude on its useful in plethora of disease. So, in conclusion, metformin has the cornerstone of therapy in management of type 2 diabetes. With the advent of the newer molecules as an oral anti-hyperglycemic therapies, we do now have a varied therapeutic option. Yet, metformin have the pleiotropic effects still seems to have an upper hand over other drugs. The insulin-sparing effects of metformin makes it unique along with the diverse intracellular mechanism. The drug has been found beneficial in a myriad of disorders including diabetes, obesity, cancer, cardiovascular condition, neurological condition, and many more. But the majority of the evidence is based on the vitro and vivo studies with a supratherapeutical concentration of the drug. Preliminary evidence to support the effects of metformin was collected from the preclinical and observational studies, but the drug is now also being tried in various clinical trials to prove its potential in chronic human disease. The current evidence shows a rays of hope for metformin to be used more regularly for various conditions. Yet, more future research and large clinical trials are needed on varied population to establish the fact and make metformin an established drug for a various disease. So that's all for our studies today. I hope you learned a lot about our drug metformin. Thank you.